Greetings, my friends. So today I wrote this essay a while back, and it was very well received and outvoted on Reddit. And I wanted to share it with you guys because I feel like the manosphere has to evolve, but also because this essay really gets to the grain of what my philosophy is about. It truly set the Lumiere appeal apart from the other manosphere groups and movements. And I'm just gonna read it and then I'm gonna explain it. I really believe in these ideas. That's what's very important. So, the manosphere must evolve. Bitter and hateful terminology to drop. Brothers, we're revolutionizing the manosphere. I thought that there is some terminology that is bitter, hateful, and spiteful to both sexes. Here's the list: drop, bitch, worthless, whore, tot, simp, cuck, plates, cucking, degeneracy. It is very nice that the country has been liberal since the 1960s. And before, there's a lot of like negativity. I don't want to get into it, but it seems like only small groups were privileged, while like a lot of other groups were at a disadvantage. Shithead, incel. And so these words are just really offensive and they have shock value. I don't think guys like us who have class should be using this terminology. Um, yeah, I don't really like them. They just seem offensive. They just seem ignorant. I don't think you guys should be using it, and I don't think the community at large, if they're serious about a movement to help straight men, should be using this type of terminology. And I just find it that the people who use them are either internet marketers or just people who are not very well educated. And the internet marketers, they want to appeal to your emotions. They're gonna use shock value words to get people to buy into it. And it's unfortunate that there's some guys who, even if they're like, they have some college education, they just buy into this. Like they buy into the emotional content, into the irrational, as opposed to content that it tries to appeal to your mind, more of the rational content, more of a measured approach to understanding a lot of these issues. It seems like the emotion sells. If you're angry and you just say something offensive, then there's guys who are frustrated and they're just gonna bend. This concept, which I think it comes from like certain churches, which I don't want to like get into here right now. So, phrases: women don't give a shit about your feelings, fuck her, worthless bitch, women don't love unconditionally, the nature of women, here we are, the essentially logic at work, it's your duty as a man to stay strong, she's low quality trash, women can't handle deep emotions from a man, fuck the hell. So this is all really offensive phrasing, and the objective is to like dehumanize women and also to like mistreat you in a way, to like make you feel bad, make you feel inferior, so that you get angry. Because I've seen like a lot of these dubious coaches, they'll tell a guy, hey, like you're like a cuck, you're a loser if you don't believe this. Like, hey, are you buying the product? If you're not, you need to unloser you. There's this low self-esteem narrative going on where they try to hammer you with this. So for the women, you have to dislike them, and for yourself, you have to dislike you. And honestly, I don't think this is good at all, because this is the opposite of self-improvement, of self-love, self-realization. It's in a way like making you feel bad. She said. So it should be used less frequently. Alpha. I see the intent, however, this word has become twisted. Recently, the alleged alpha is a truck driver who can get laid. I want better for you guys when you are a guy who has all looks, money, and status. Beta, white knight, incel. So guys lose their virginity, like in other countries that I've seen, like I've seen guys being able to lose their virginity to like hookers and stuff. Like I believe a lot of incels are narcissistic and demand things from other people. So here with this list, like for instance the word alpha, it seems like community, and it's inspired by the populist right. Their alpha is a truck driver who's like very uneducated, and he just uses all these phrases, and for some reason I think it has a historical, like a historical reason as to why this exists in England. There's a book called A Lady, and I'm not 100% sure the title. I'll have it for the next video, but it's this book about this lady who cheats on her husband with a gardener, and so from there on, like in the Anglosphere, in the culture, the idea has spread that like women would cheat on their wealthy partner, who's like a dork for this working class man. You know, this sort of plays on this sort of revenge fantasy that one class has for another. In my opinion, I don't, I can't be for certain, but it seems how it's used. There's this idea of like, oh, this is the redemption of the working class man. Like, I don't think that you should identify with that. Like, I don't really identify with that. Or just being a bouncer, you know, like when I read a lot of these blogs, many of my haters, like, they always say, man, why are you like this random guy? And like, or these random guys who write. And I told them, like, I read some of their work, but it reminds me a lot of the bouncers at the nightclub, like how they express themselves. Like, there's nothing educated about them, you know. They're just blabbering a lot of nonsense, or since we're using that kind of terminology, like, that's it. And then incel, like, I don't think that's a good term to use. I think it's a bad term to use. I don't think guys should be shamed if they're virgins. Like, I think that's malicious, and I'm gonna write more about it. I think it's mean-spirited, and I wouldn't use that word. But like, okay, now phrases like fuck her, and words to keep. Sample: pickup artist, a guy who knows how to seduce women effectively. High value guy, a guy who's living his life to the fullest. Low value guy, a guy who severely lacks wealth, health, and relationships. So these three words, pickup guy, high value guy, low value guy, I think they're good because they illustrate some ideas that are good to have in mind, and like some skills, for instance, being a PUA or being a high value guy, being a low value guy. I think they're good as measures because they're not deterministic, you know. They're not like, hey, this alpha by nature. There's more like, hey, I became high value, or I'm not doing as well in my job and now I became low value. However, like, I got a new job and now I got back to the high value train. So I like that these words, and I think they're good, and we should continue using it. Notice that we're not becoming quote unquote white knights or simps. Instead, we're evolving and moving on to greater heights. We're sanitizing the language of our community. Note that unlike other dating coaches, I don't turn my back on pickup artistry. Instead, I'm trying to change it from within, so the spirit of it becomes a positive philosophy. And this is the idea that a lot of guys who were into the manosphere, I don't want to say any names honestly, but like, there were guys who were into the whole community, and then they got out and they started denouncing the community, how bad it is, and how they don't want to associate with it anymore. So what I'm saying is, I don't want to be like those guys, because I've been a pickup artist, and like I liked the pickup, the game, and I think it could be like a good thing for most guys who like need help with their social skills or their personal development. And so I don't want to turn my back on that community. Instead, I want to change it from within. And that I see a lot of parallels between like pickup artistry and skateboarding. If you guys seen the movie Lords of Dogtown, where the guys were aimless and then they discovered pickup, and then they start, or like skateboarding, and then they started to become successful and financially, or with women, and with just their life in general. So I think that if the community evolves, it can get to that point where it's a positive thing and people enjoyed it, and it's not like politicized or marginalized. And I think that's a goal that we have, not explicitly, but like hopefully like we'll start a ship towards that type of goal. Anyway, my friends, so it's been wonderful talking to you, and I'm glad I wrote this essay. I feel like it captures a lot of my ideology, and it really like distinguishes us from the other groups. And I feel like a lot of like doubters or haters or all these people who read this essay will say, oh, okay, like this is what he stands for. Like I've seen a few comments from women and other people who are not like feminists or anything and say like, oh, I liked your essay, like I like this one, like I think it captures like you guys are a lot less toxic than all the other guys. Not that like I care, because it's not like a virtue signaling thing, because the guys who do the virtue signaling, their aim is financial. Like my aim is simply in turn like focus on that community and hey, let's try to like just be successful without getting all this drama, you know. But anyway, my friends, it has been great. This is Lord Laverne. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.